Okay, today's YouTube, we're in Camp Verde. It was snowing up in Flagstaff. I'm at altitude. I've started that journey to the Paris Olympics, and today we're talking about how you get yourself back into training, perhaps if you're a bit heavier, not as fit as you're used to be, and how you be patient in that build up to make sure that you don't get injured. Keep watching and enjoy. Okay, so we're down to Camp Verde. Just going to start the warm-up, probably about 4k, 5k, and then the session is 8 times 1k at a nice, comfortable threshold pace, and I'll check some lactates just to check. But this is the nice road loop. This is my first session, kind of getting back training for Paris Olympics, and also being at altitude, so it'll be nice and chill. It's important, if you've taken a bit of time off, or you know you're not as fit as you normally are, or even perhaps you're a little bit heavier than normal, and I'm all three, that you break your body back in slowly. The biggest limiting factor to running well or racing well is injury. If you push the training too hard, too soon, too fast, too much, that's when you get injured. So I have to be really careful how I manage that progression back to not only full training in terms of volume, but also full training in terms of intensity, how many times per day I train, etc., etc. Frequency of training, intensity of training, volume. So what you can do is take your session. Maybe a normal session would be 12 times 1k, 8 times 1k, and you can start with half of that session and just take it a little bit easier. You can run a bit slower, you can take a bit more recovery, and just break your body back in slowly. And then over the course of your build up, week 2, week 3, you can start to increase volume, lower recovery, and increase speed. And it works really well. But be super patient or you'll end up hurt, and that will ruin the race result completely. So a lot of people, they get super motivated, they're super excited, they want to run this big race, but they're not patient and they're not disciplined, and they end up hurt. They end up injured before they're fit enough to achieve that big result. So take all that motivation, all that excitement, bottle it up, and use it in mini doses each day over that entire build-up. Don't get all super excited right at the start.
Okay, so I really wanted to talk a bit more about that transition from perhaps you've taken some time off. Certainly I have, maybe 2 to 3 months at this stage. And what you're looking to do is break your body back into training in a way that your muscles and your central nervous system and all these things that help you absorb the training and help you stay injury free, that they stay in balance so that you don't get injured. And so a lot of people take time off, maybe they're not motivated. You're probably not motivated because you went through periods of time of training where you didn't get the race results you wanted, or you got injuries that you didn't want. And what ends up happening is it leads to ruts where you get these psychological dips, and perhaps you're not doing meditation, journaling, all these things that help that psychology. But you end up getting to, 2-3 months down the line, and suddenly you decide, I want to start training again. Brilliant decision, that's great, it's awesome that you want to get back into training. But then often what people do is they use that sort of new lease of life, this new oomph of motivation, and you go too quickly. And you break yourself back in too quickly and you try to jump straight back into the training that perhaps you were able to handle before, and before long you get injured. Not only that, if you're lucky to be robust enough and you don't pick up a physical injury, what also tends to happen is you end up. So, the way fitness works is it's a big sponge. And I have this running school, I run a masterclass, and I talk about this sponge, and you dip it in water, and as you pull it out of the water, the sponge is full. And that's like you going and doing a hard training session, hill training, intervals, tempo, etc., etc. Your sponge is full. So in order to absorb more training, you need to empty the sponge. And that's the hard training versus easy training balance. So if your sponge is always full, you cannot possibly absorb any more water, any more fitness. And so what you do over time is you increase the size of your sponge, how hard you can train, how much recovery time you need, and that's a balance. So as you come back after spending some time off, your sponge is going to be pretty limited. So if you overstress it, you actually get less benefit. So you're out there training hard, you're out there doing more miles, you're out there doing harder interval training, and you're not even getting the benefits. It's like going into Walmart and, buying a TV but leaving without the TV. Or spending more money on a TV and leaving with a less quality TV. Start to manage that process, accept accountability, accept that because you took time off, because perhaps you didn't look after your psychology in your previous build-up, perhaps you didn't look after your body physically in terms of recovery in your previous build-up, it led to you having to take time off. Now you've started back again, but accept the position you're in. Build back slowly, be patient with it, and actually you'll gain more fitness by listening to your body and by handling that process back to fitness at a sensible pace. But accept responsibility that you've got yourself into that position that you're having to build back. And that's what I have to do right now. I can't just jump straight back into 100 miles a week, hammers and tongs before, heading towards Paris 2024. I have to accept that I took 3 months off. I have to accept that I have to take my time in this process. And so this session here, we're doing 8 by K, and then we do some hills, and I'm lucky enough to be able to join the group down in Camp Verde, and I ran with, 2 absolutely awesome females. And I have to accept that today, running 3:15 per K, my lactate is 3.1. That's sitting around half marathon-y type effort, and I've raced a half marathon at 2:55 per K. So 20 seconds per K slower than, my absolute best. But that's okay, because I needed that time off. I needed time to rebuild, but it doesn't stop the fact that I need to accept when I'm out there training that I need to be slower. And it also doesn't stop the fact that I need to accept that my body isn't ready to just go hammers and tongs back into full training. The last thing I'm going to say, this is the most important time to be doing your recovery stuff, your rehab stuff from physios, your pre-run activation, your stretching, your yoga, Epsom baths, ice baths. During that period of getting back into training, I have a marathon plan on the joggingroom.com website. There's also lots of warm-up drills, stretching, all those sort of tips. There's 60 lectures, 10 hours worth of lectures. But a lot of what it's preaching is building a support network around the training. There's also a 4-week period of training in that marathon plan built purely for robustness. Building robustness, building durability, and building that ability to handle the training that's going to help you get these personal bests is one of the most important parts of any build-up. So the next month for me, I'm training for, the Paris Olympics, which is amazing. But the next month for me is literally just rebuilding my body, yoga, strength, all this kind of stuff, get it moving well, but also building that strength to be able to train the way that it will take to achieve big goals. Lots of people don't think like that. You have to think, how could I rebuild my body? Pretend you're a Formula One vehicle. How could I rebuild that body so that it gets to a place that I can handle the kind of training that I want to be capable of doing to get the race results that I want? It's not black or white. You can build that. You can build that strength. You can build that mobility. You can start to cut down all the things that are leading to the injuries and the inconsistencies. It's why I built this school. It's why I built the masterclass. It was teaching people all those elements that support the training, the psychology, the recovery, the strength stuff, the mobility stuff. It's all super, super important. Now I have to practice what I preach, and I'm right back to baseline, right back to square one. But I'm going to document this whole journey to the Paris Olympics. I've hired somebody to film, I've hired somebody to help me with this process, and so that I can just focus on the training. And I'm super lucky that the people that did support the Run a Masterclass and joggingroom.com, that has led to me be able to publish more content like this. It's going to lead to, be able to hire the videographer a couple more days a week so that we can really document how I go from having just taken 3 months off to rebuilding the body, to building back up, to entering marathons, to trying to run qualifying times, and hopefully, there is no hopefully, I will qualify for Paris 2024. I know it, I feel it in my bones, and you just have to know. It's not going to be easy, it's going to be really, really difficult, but I know I can do it. And so let's get back to today's session. It was the threshold stuff. I was able to keep the lactate in a good place, and then I went over to, there's a hill near Camp Verde, and I did some hills. Hills are really, really good for power, really, really good when you're getting back into training because you can run pretty hard, and because it's uphill, it takes that impact off the legs. But I hope you enjoy. I do some warm-up drills, super, super important. I do some recovery stuff after, super, super important. But it was a good session. I might be 20 seconds away from where I've been in the past. I'm heavier than I've been in the past. But I earned that. Just like you earn good fitness, you earn lower fitness for your capabilities. But I hope you enjoy this episode. You can like, you can, subscribe if it's something you want to do. Comment below if you have any questions. I'm going to do a question and answer. One of the episodes, the videographer is going to bike with me while I run, and he's going to rattle through some questions. So if you throw some questions below, I can do that on the next episode, a kind of question and answer style. And yeah, enjoy the journey. I hope you check in, subscribe, like, do what you gotta do. You can follow me on Instagram, Lion Skull, and take care.